welcome to Clementine Made Me Do It, a sewing blog and kind of a making blog from the North Woods. I, however, am not in the North Woods of Maine right now. I'm actually in southern Maine, where I am visiting or staying with my parents while I'm working and getting ready for the Thanksgiving holiday. So let's jump right in. I'm trying to figure out how to thematically make these vlogs work. I know I've been doing once a month, like what I've made and a haul, but I'm finding that perhaps I need to do a little bit more. But anyway, I'm just going to call them sewing vlogs and number them and maybe try to give an indicator within the title. But for this particular vlog, I'm going to kind of call this Acquisitions and Discoveries maybe, and just a little bit of a few other sewing things I've been working on that are not garment related. So let's just start with the things that I've finished. I'm so excited. I've not been very diligent about my sewing. Been very busy the past month and had a few things I needed to manage personally and professionally, and I've been traveling back and forth between two homes, and so it just hasn't really been conducive. But tomorrow it's going to rain, and I'm trying to get all my podcasts out today, edited out and uploaded, and then tomorrow take full advantage of the fact that there will be very low light and get my work done around the house. So it's gorgeous today here in the state. It's like 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and I plan to go for a walk. I plan to record my fiber podcast in the sheep pasture. I have a dog that's recovering, so I need to kind of be around for her, and probably some knitting and maybe some embroidery, which I'm going to tell you about. So welcome. Did I say that? You're most welcome. And for those of you that have tuned in and subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support and interest and what is happening in my neck of the woods. I do look forward to your comments, and I find that this community, the sewing community, is really helpful for me in finding more resources. I'm kind of new here. I'm lucky to have Clementine in Rockland, which is an amazing apparel and fabric shop, to kind of help me and, give me ideas and find the patterns and the blogs. But I am a little bit isolated. I don't have a lot of friends who sew and that type of thing. So this community has been a great support and great network for discovering new things and of course then acquiring them. So let's start with some acquisitions. I am super excited. This is where Clementine comes in, of course, to have found through Leah this amazing fabric. I can't remember the maker's name. Actually, I can tell you right here. This is Rocky Raccoon, DeLeon Designs Group, the Alexander Henry Fabrics Collection. So, yep, I had to have this. This was between this and some bats, I think. And it was really hard to choose bats or raccoons, but we have a family of raccoons that come and eat and clean up our feeders every night, so I figured I would have a little homage dress to them. So my plan is to make another, I love this dress, another Marianne, this view here, so the raccoons, and then I just got a navy to do the yoke and the cuffs. So these dresses are super comfortable. This will be my third. I wear them over jeans, like a long t-shirt, tights with boots. They're A-line shape. I didn't think that it would look very nice on my particular shape. I have a narrow waist and wider hips, broad shoulders, narrow waist, wide hips, not a very massive bust line. But in fact, the A-line works great, and I thought the drape might not work with my shape, but in fact, it doesn't cling to anything. It just has a really flowy aspect to it, and you can just kind of layer it up. So it can be, I would think in the state of Maine, it would be a four-season garment. So anyway, super happy about my raccoons. So that's fabric acquisitions. I had this acquisition as well, but I finished this project. I made another flannel scarf, and I couldn't resist these colors. So it's not quite appearing as it should, and the pom-poms are smaller than the original one that I did, but I do love how much fun that is. And I get lots of compliments on them, and they're easy to throw on with a jacket or over your shoulders, and seem to be somewhat dog hair resistant, as I'm looking at this and I don't see any of my dog hair on it. The other finished object I have is another Anne Carolyn smock. This is by Ellen Mason. You can find this particular pattern, and I'm not sure if she's released her new pattern, the Amy Louise, I think it's Amy Louise shift dress, on her Etsy shop. So if you find her blog, audacier.blogspot.com, and I'll try to make a link for you, then you can find this pattern. So this is the Anne Carolyn smock. I did this out of a linen cotton blend. I think it's 45% linen and would it be 55%? 44%? I don't know. I remember the ratios, but it's kind of almost 50-50. And this nice deep chocolate brown. And I was able to serge most of it. I don't typically serge the shoulder seams, but one thing, I kind of got fed up. This project, I cut the sleeve on it. They're raglan sleeves, and I cut the sleeve, and I must have cut it wrong, and I couldn't make it work in the raglan. It kept reversing, and so anyway, I had to call Leah and send some more down. So I kind of was like fed up with the project by the time I was getting to the hemline. So I serged the edge, and then I just hemmed it once. And that was super easy and super awesome, and I really liked the way it turned out. This is a dog hair magnet, because I'm sitting here picking it off. So I layer this over jeans, and I've also been able to layer it with another skirt and then a high boot. I have plans for this, as I'm going to tell you in just a minute, but I really have enjoyed the linen and cotton. You could put a silk undershirt with this and then a wool sweater and have a really nice winter layer. Silk is highly insulatory, and then you get the nice structure of the linen and the cotton, and then the warmth and insulatory properties of the wool. So with a tight and a boot and some silk under things, I think that this makes a perfect winter layering outfit. You'll probably notice on my particular blog, I don't work with a ton of synthetic yarns. I don't particularly enjoy them. There is spandex in the knits that I got, but I don't think you'll see me working with viscose or crepe or poly or anything like that. It's just not really material that works within my wardrobe and works within my profession and where I live. So I like to have things that I would totally wear this canoeing. It cleans up well, stain resistant, so I like things that are versatile. I can also dress this up and go out for a night in Portland, which I never do, although I wish I would. There's some really fun restaurants in Portland, Maine. So those are all the finished sewing items. I'm going to talk a little bit about some plans I have for that particular garment, and it has to do with a discovery of sashiko, which is a Japanese traditional craft and is associated with mending. But I was thinking that for some of the yokes on my pieces, or even elements on the hem, that it would be really fun to do some of these patterns. So I don't know a ton about sashiko. I'm learning about it, and it's primarily running stitches, just creating really fun geometric patterns. I'll show you my thoughts for some of these. They have some really fun smocked looking stitches that I think would be fun. So I kind of love these textured stitches here, and these. I think this would make a really pretty element to a yoke or a pocket maybe, or a hemline. So anyway, I picked up the Ultimate Sashiko source book by Susan Briscoe. And then I was super excited to find, I didn't bring it in? Oh, I did. So again, I'm still learning about sashiko. You do it with particularly long needles. You can see the length of the sashiko needle here. And you kind of pleat the fabric onto the needle, and then you have this type of thimble or guard, and you use that to push your needle through. So I picked up all my pieces that I needed. I got the needle, I got the thimble, I got some sashiko thread, which is a specific type of embroidery thread that has a lower twist than regular DMC, of course, or pearl cotton, if you're familiar with those materials. And then I was excited to find at Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop, I went a little crazy there, this sashiko sampler. And you can see that it's outlined, it's sheep. It's not particularly indicative of my style. Hi, it's my dog Koei's coming over. Hi. But I felt like it would be a good practice, and it was already printed on the fabric, so I didn't have to worry about how I was going to transfer patterns and grid them out. So there's quite a bit of preparation work involved in sashiko, but since I'm not doing full quilts, and I don't plan on doing a full garment, it's just going to be little elements here and there, you know, I wasn't as put off or overwhelmed. So anyway, I'm going to just put this little sampler together and see how it goes, and then see if that will be an applicable skill to some of the other projects that I have going on. So that's sashiko. I also picked up a couple embroidery books for more element building, cuffs, collars, hemlines, pocket borders, the center back of a garment, my own personalized tags. So I picked up Teeny Tiny Menagerie, and this is published by Stash Books. It's Noriyoko Kamarata, and these are all little animals, and I absolutely fell in love with the whimsical elements of these. They don't have a cartoony feel, they have more of a sketch feel to them, and I just love it. So I can really see just, you know, putting a little mole, because this is a little mole here, you know, on a collar or right at the hem. I'll show you the one that I really fell in love with. And it's this kind of Arctic winter scene. And I was like, oh, that might be really fun to sketch just on the back of an Anne Carolyn smock in the linen. You know, just kind of up on a shoulder or something. Like you turn around and you know, you have this little sketched scene, and it doesn't feel too foo-foo or too childish. Like again, it just has that really fun kind of woodland sketchy feeling. So I've really been enjoying this particular book. She has a couple alphabets in here, and I'll show you those. And she also has some fun borders, which again, for pockets, might be super fun. I love this little village square border. And then she has some cross stitch patterns in here, which I'm not really particularly fond of, but I love some of these borders. Now I will say, I haven't sketched or I haven't stitched anything out, but she does a nice job. She gives you the visual of the embroidery, and then she kind of gives you a key for each piece that's sketched, the stitch that you do, the color that you use, the number of strands, and she also tells you how to transfer, kind of a basic way, but I have other resources for transferring embroidery patterns. I love this one with the border collie and the sheep on the hill. I think it's really helpful when people share books that they share the visuals, and because you don't get to always see them in, you know, in a preview, and this is a book that I certainly wouldn't find in a bookshop local to me. Here's an example of some of the alphabets. Just making sure that you can see them too, and they're just so fun. I think whimsy really captures the elements that this particular designer brings to the embroidery world. So I do see this being able to kind of accentuate and just be a fun element to add to some of my garments, which is how I plan to use it. I wouldn't particularly say this book has a lot of projects. She gives you the sketches, she gives you how to do it. How you choose to apply them is up to you. So I picked up that, and then I picked up this Zaka embroidery by Yumiko Higachi. And you can see the type of book that it is. I didn't expect it to come that way, but. And this book does have projects, and it does have embroidery patterns. And they are so much fun. So here's an example of a pattern. This is a clutch, or a project, I should say. So she gives you the embroidery patterns to use as you wish, but she also gives you ideas for incorporating them into projects. So lots of florals and kind of flora and fauna-ish to it. She has 2 chapters. She has a single color embroidery, and then she has a 2-color embroidery. And it's kind of a unique, this is all filled with a chain stitch, which didn't occur to me. I'd never seen that before. And you know, she's got some kind of white work. I'm planning to do this particular piece on the center back of this Anne Carolyn smock. And I'm not sure what color I'll do it in, but I'm just going to do it on the center of the back and just have it be a fun element as you're walking away. So those are some of the single color embroidery pieces. And then she's got multiple colors. And here's an example of another clutch with the multiple color. Again, really helpful in giving you information on how many strands of floss or embroidery thread to use. But I will point out that I think tracing these patterns might be a little bit more difficult than I anticipated because of the way the book is bound, which is a little bit of a bummer. But all the plans for the projects are included in the book. So the baby booty pattern is there, the clutch pattern is there. So it's just gonna, yeah. So anyway, I'm enjoying this, and I've got a lot of ideas from both of these books, just for fun elements to, like I said, incorporate into garment making. So I picked up these 2 copies of Selvage from Fort Fiber when she was vending at the Highlands on the Fly retreat. And I've been enjoying them for inspiration on styling my garments, styling my home with things that I make. Just a beautiful, beautiful photography. And I also just love looking at the advertisements because it helps me expand my knowledge of suppliers and resources as I kind of grow in this particular realm. And my husband has even enjoyed it. There was this particular article that he found that really spoke to him. Let's see if I can find it up really quickly. So he is also a person who sews and makes things, leathercraft, basket weaving, you know. So this particular article here. So lots of good, cool wool coats and funky wool, you know, vests and linen shirts, and so I thought that this had something for everybody, you know, styling, history, current design, and resource. So anyway, that's Selvage, and issue 67 and issue 72 printed in the UK. So it was kind of fun to find those and just pick them up. Right, so that's kind of acquisitions, discoveries, finished objects, and at this time of year, I always start pulling together a lot of embroidery projects. And my start in embroidery was on felt, making kind of everyday ornaments. You can use them for Christmas, you can use them for celebrating whatever you want throughout the year. So they have a holiday feel, but most of the people I give these to keep them out year round. So this is where I got my start in embroidery. So I make these felt pieces and I stuff them with my sheep wool. I find that wool tends to be the best stuffing. It has a lot of good structure to it, and I don't know, it's sticky, so it stays in. It doesn't kind of puff out like some of the polyfill. So I do horses and stars. I change, I try to add a shape every year. So last year I added a bear. Those were really fun to decorate. I've also done these, I've done birds, and I do, this one is kind of hard to see, but I do these dolls. I embroider the face, I embroider the apron, bead and add buttons and things like that. So it's a great way to use up found objects, you know, like old buttons and, you know, crafty things that kind of accumulate, ribbon, that type of thing. So, so those are kind of getting into full swing. I need to figure out what my shape is going to be this year. I was thinking it would be a squirrel, but depending on how down to the wire I get, it may just end up being a mitten or something like that. So anyway, I think that's all I have for you on this edition of Clementine Made Me Do It. I have projects I would like to get done in the next few weeks. So hopefully in December I'll have some more new makes. Let's see, I'll probably, yeah, I've got stuff I have to get done for my niece and nephew for Christmas. So probably be looking at lots of pajamas and Christmas dress for my niece. And I need to work on the Negroni shirt for my husband. Oh, I've been dreading that. It's a flannel with, so what I'm looking for, with a plaid that I've got to match and do everything. And it's all the detail work, all like the top stitching. And after Christmas, I plan to tackle jean making, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I hope wherever you are in good spirits and getting to enjoy some time to yourself with your sewing machine or your knitting needles or your needle and thread. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.